And I was like, deal. I didn't even make $5,000 in a month and a half back then in the military. So to make that in like a day or a couple hours of time was heck yeah for me. Easiest conversation, sweet gentleman. He wasn't in need for money. He was a little motivated. He basically wanted to just get what he owed on the back taxes, like $285. And he told me the address and I was like, huh, okay, what am I missing here? So I went and looked at the land. It was beautiful. It overlooked the Pike National Forest. It was actually 2 parcels, but not buildable because there's only 1 ingress, 1 egress. The firefighters could only get in. They can get pinned down and not get out. So they would not let them build on the street. Bummer, right? So no clue what it was worth. And I surely wasn't spending $285 because I was like paying for diapers and formula. We just moved across the country. I was a brand new Army officer. So $285 is like telling me to come up with like $1 million right now. I'd be like, oh geez, like I'm not like that one, like that's a little tough. I didn't have the money. And so I called the real estate office right next to this land deal. And the agent was very nice. Saturday morning, I said, what's the blowout price for this land? What can I sell it for? She's like, maybe $10,000. And I was like, what? I'm about to trade $285 for $10,000. I was like, I'll call you as soon as I own it. Well, she's like, well, hey, I'd buy it from you, maybe. Can I make an offer? I was like, please, yeah. So she offered me $5,000. She thought she was lowballing me. I was like jumping through, like I was so excited. My wife was with me. My newborn baby was with me. One of my Army officer friends was with me.
Welcome back to the Broke Millionaires, where we document our daily struggles in building wealth while raising a young family. Join us as we talk creative wealth building for everyday people and couples that are struggling in a down economy. I'm Lauryn.
And I'm Joshua Masari, and we'll be your host.
Today's guest is Brent Bowers, a land investor and coach. After 8 years as an Army officer and too much time away from his family, Brent turned to vacant land investing to create freedom. He scaled fast, built a team, and now helps others do the same. Welcome back to the Broke Millionaires. We have Brent Bowers today, and we are so excited to welcome you to the show. How are you doing today, Brent?
I'm good, Lauryn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Well, should we just jump right into the questions?
Yeah, let's go. We're excited to hear what you have to talk about. This is kind of a new topic for us and our audience. So I'm just as excited as everybody else is to learn more about this.
I am too. I personally don't know a lot about land investing, so I'm really excited for today. So, Brent, for people that don't know you yet, what problem did land investing solve for you personally?
I was broke. That was it. No, it solved my broke problem. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Joshua and Lauryn, nice to meet you both. I can't even believe that I get to be on these podcasts now because 2015, I was preparing for my third combat deployment. We had just had our first baby in 2016, and I was about to be gone again for another year. Also, the train up is like 6 months for that. So I was in the military. So the problem I was facing was I was tired of being away from home. I had already been divorced once. I actually thought it was coming again, this time with children involved. And that was like my worst nightmare. So I was looking for ways to get out of the military. And I had wholesaled some houses. I had 6 rentals at the time. And I wasn't making money. I was absolutely flat broke. And even worse, I was in debt. And if I would have left my military job, there's no way I could have lived off those rentals. I would have lost all of them because they weren't producing. It's like the reverse opposite of what they teach you in, investment school. And I had a real estate license in 2007. They never trained me to do investing. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sell real estate for other people, but I found land investing. And I took a lot of massive, very imperfect, hasty action, and ended up making some money pretty quickly. So that's kind of the story back in 2016 when the land investing started. I actually started learning real estate in probably 2005, 2004. I was going to seminars and reading the books. So it took me longer than most, I feel like. I was reading Donald Trump books in middle school.
I've read those. Yeah, I know which ones you're talking about.
Heart of the deal.
Yep, absolutely. That was a pretty good one. Okay, so what made you choose land investing over other real estate? Obviously, you've got other background in it. What kind of pushed you towards going all in on the land investing versus the other things that you were doing or all the other things out there?
Man, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you asked me that, Joshua. That brings passion inside of my heart to even answer that question. But is it okay if I ask a question? Why is it called the Broke Millionaires?
The exact reason you
Because
just
I'm
explained why
really
you got into
curious.
this in the first place. So we invest, we have a lot of different investments that we do, but personally or locally, we are in California and it's very expensive here. So the properties that we buy, they're fixer uppers. They're over $1 million as a, basically almost a tear down, and they take a lot of money to put in. And so we have a lot of money tied up in our deals. And even though we're multimillionaires on paper, we're cash broke. So that's kind of where the name comes from. Is just we're making these sacrifices now. We're building up wealth, but we're millionaires. Who just
Gosh,
cash flow
okay.
is the issue.
Mhm.
I really thought that was it. I really did. And it's like, I try to explain to my children, I was like, you guys have no clue how well you are set up.
Hmm.
You know, all this property will be paid off in like 12 years, all these rentals, all these industrial buildings, these commercial buildings, a lot of land we have. But there's days when I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I got to pay this contractor. I don't know where I'm going to find the money. There have been many days like that. And that's kind of fewer and further in the past now, but some sleepless nights. This is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But what you could build with it is absolutely incredible. Thanks for explaining that. Um, why land? Okay. So I bought my first rental property in 2007, just before the crash happened in 8, and I bought it for 123,000. Ended up getting a home equity line of credit for 12,000 to do some fix up. So I'm like in it for like 130 something thousand dollars now at this point. My mortgage payment's like 750 a month. I get a renter in there for 950. I think I'm smart, right? That's $200 a month net. That's $2,400 a year I was making on paper. Well, something always happens. It seems like every 6 months, a water heater goes out, a boiler, an air conditioner, a roof leaks, or a septic system, and it's like, here we are, 6 years later, still haven't turned a profit on this property. Well, let me tell you about my first land deal. I sent out a bunch of letters to people that I got off of the tax delinquent list from El Paso County, Colorado. I called the El Paso County treasurer. I said, hey, I want everyone that's behind on their taxes. I want to send them a letter and buy their land and pay these back taxes. Well, that lady, her name is Cindy, she didn't understand what I meant. She thought I wanted to pay all the back taxes. So she sent me everything that was not bought on the county tax record. So this is like raw land, inefficient, not buildable, non-developable, not accessible, not large enough to build it. Like you name it, almost like 800 of these records. Well, it came in like a, a scanned version. So I had to pay a Filipino virtual assistant like $5 an hour to get everything transferred into schedule numbers. And we got the mailing addresses. And like a month and a half later, I could finally mail these people a postcard that said, hey, my name's Brent. I'd like to buy your land. I'll pay all cash at a fair price. Offer, call me, text me. God bless you. And if anybody wants a copy of that, I still buy properties to this day with that simple handwritten postcard. They can get it at thelandsharks.com/postcard. Well, my phone started ringing. I was actually the first guy that called me was a retired CPA. Easiest conversation, sweet gentleman. He wasn't in need for money. He was a little motivated. He basically wanted to just get what he owed on the back taxes. It was like $285. And he told me the address, and I was like, huh, okay, what am I missing here? So I went and looked at the land. It was beautiful. It overlooked the Pike National Forest. It was actually 2 parcels, but not buildable because there's only one ingress, one egress. The firefighters could only get in. They can get pinned down and not get out. So they would not let them build on the street. Bummer, right? So I had no clue what it was worth, and I surely wasn't spending $285 because I was like paying for diapers and formula. We just moved across the country. I was a brand new Army officer. So $285 is like telling me to come up with like a million right now. I'd be like, oh, geez, like I'm not like that. Like that's a little tough. I didn't have the money, and so I called the real estate office right next to this land deal, and the agent was very nice. Saturday morning, I said, "What's the blowout price for this land? What can I sell it for?" She's like, "Maybe $10,000," and I was like, "What? I'm about to trade $285 for 10,000." I was like, "I'll call you as soon as I own it." Well, she's like, "Well, hey, I'd buy it from you maybe Can I make an offer? I was like, please, yeah. So she offered me 5 grand. She thought she was lowballing me. I was like jumping through, like I was so excited. My wife was with me. My newborn baby was with me. And one of my Army officer friends was with me. And I was like, deal. I didn't even make 5 grand in a month and a half back then in the military. So to make that in like a day or a couple hours of time was heck yeah for me. So long story short, got paid on Wednesday the following week, cashier's check. I went and paid the seller. He trusted me to sell it ahead of time. Basically, he gave me a quick claim deed and I came back and paid him later. And then the next one was even easier. I sold the next one for $500 down, which was what I paid for it, and $400 a month. And that's the one that changed my life. Because all those years I had been renting this house out for $200 a month. And by that time I had like 6 rentals. And I'm now getting $400 a month and I'll never have to fix anything on this land. And it was paying my truck payment. And I was like, if I do that 10 more times, I'm financially free and I can leave the military. I just needed to make almost $4,500 a month back then to cover everything. A couple years later, 2018, I'm netting 12 grand a month in land, got out of the military, and then started doing bigger deals. And here we are. I get to talk on these famous podcasts like The Broke Millionaire.
Nice. Just a quick disclaimer. The information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Your individual circumstances may differ and require specific strategies not discussed here. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, so that brings up another question, and this is something that I was kind of curious before we talked to you. What is your strategy? How are you making money now? Are you doing seller finance for the most part? Are you flipping these right away? How are you turning these and how are you making that profit?
Yes and yes. Everything you just mentioned. I feel like I'm a little bit shiny object. I'll do any kind of land deal that makes profit. Now, I'm actually doing less and less land deals now. I only want to do like one a month. We just went under contract for one yesterday. It was a subdivide. We paid the lender back on subdivide 2 out of 6. So I had 6 of these to sell. We're selling the 6th one right now, but that one I went under contract yesterday for 120 grand. So I like to do a little bit bigger, nicer land deals now that take less work. But in the beginning, I would do anything that would turn a profit. I really, really like the seller finance side because it pays me for a long time. It pays me for years. At one time, we're up to 44,000 a month in net income coming in from seller finance land. Um, and I charge interest. I really do what the banks do. I really just copied their system because a 30-year mortgage, like the first 7 years is all interest. So I do that. I charge anywhere from 8 to 12% interest. A lot of times people will pay me off or they'll stop paying or they'll sell the land in 2 years or they'll build on it and get a construction loan to pay me off. But yeah, seller finance was my preferred method. And how does the strategy look now? I don't really go after those inefficient properties. You can still make a pile of cash with it. I don't turn my nose up from it, but I think there's smarter uses of time now because it's just as easy to make 50,000 as it is 5,000.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. What would you say the biggest lie people believe about land investing is?
Oh, great question, Lauren. Oh my gosh. This is the biggest lie I believed myself. I come from Okeechobee, Florida. It's a small town in Florida. We have more cows than people. Our biggest income producer is cattle. And I always thought you had to be rich to own land, or a cattle farmer to own land, or a dairy farmer to own land. And I was none of those three. And I didn't know how to make money with land. Thank God the guy I heard a guy on a podcast one day talking about how he was like doubling his money over a couple week time period with land. And I had never heard anybody talking about that before. This guy was actually driving to the tax auctions all over the country. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I'm working 14-hour days in the military, a newborn baby. I got a wife I want to see. I was like, but I bet you maybe I can catch that land before it gets to that tax sale. So that's how I started it out. But the biggest lie is you can't make money from land. And I'm here to prove that that's like printing money. When I buy a piece of land for 10,000, it's worth 30, and I sell it for 30 with 10,000 down and a couple $100 a month for for a long time, that's a lot of interest I collect. It's like printing money.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Our next question was going to be why does land investing sound fake to people? But I think you just answered it. Like, people think you have to have money, or they see that you can buy something for $285 and turn around and sell it for 5-10,000. It sounds too good to be true, but it's a realistic endeavor.
It does. I still think it's too good to be true. I have a hard time believing this. That one area I talked about in Palmer Lake, Colorado, I have an investor that bought 18 of those lots from me, and we kept charging more and more and more. I was like, what is this guy going to do with these? I almost started feeling bad. I was like, am I ripping him off? Well, I just talked to him a couple months ago. He took them all and purchased something called like green tax credits. I have no clue how that works. I think he made like $1 million. So where I thought I was making money, where the builder will eventually make money, and it's so many ways to make money in land. This guy just made money out of a theory I've never even heard of, like just selling tax credits to major corporations.
So what I'm hearing is we need to start land investing.
Yeah, maybe. That's why we're here learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think, or what makes most people quit early on with land investing? Is there like one thing that is?
I see it. Yeah. I've actually helped quite a few people how to basically make an absolute fortune in land investing. I always wanted to be the teacher of this. When I went to No Money Down Real Estate Investing by Robert Allen, went to a seminar. I thought Robert Allen was going to be a good guy teaching it. I actually finally got to meet him a couple years ago. But I went when I was 18 years old, and this guy standing up there was fit. He was older than me. He looked like $1 million, and I was like, one day I'm going to be him. I'm going to teach people how to do this. And here I am. I get to do it. Uh, Not exactly the fashion and the form I thought it would be in. A lot of it's over Zoom now, but I see people quit too soon. Like, I talk to so many people. They call me. They see me on my YouTube channel. I go through everything. I share the good, the bad, the ugly with this business. But people come to me like, Brent, I need to make 50,000 a month. And they come in, they try it for 30 days and they make nothing. And they quit. They stop sending the letters. They stop sending the offers. They stop following up. And it's like, I've learned it's better to ask people, hey, you want to make 50,000 a month? What's the most you've ever made? 3,500 or 4,000 or 6,000. Hey, what if we just get you there consistently for the next couple months, 6,000 a month, and then you work up from that. But I think people have too big of goals too quick, and it doesn't happen as fast as they want it to happen.
Yeah, we see that a lot in a lot of things, really. Everyone has the shiny object and they want this right now. And if they can't get there immediately, they just kind of give up and go to the next thing and never actually get anywhere because they're just constantly jumping ship before they even get momentum.
Yeah. And I've done that a lot. I am so guilty of that. I'm not up here like preaching because I haven't done it. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I've started and stopped my land business. I mined Bitcoin for a while. I bought an Amazon store. I bought this. I got into apartment complexes, but I always come back to the thing that makes me the most money.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the ugly because there's always an ugly side, or I would think there's always an ugly side. So, what's the fastest way to lose money in land investing? Big mistake that you see people make.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'll give you an example of my own personal example. I still am sitting on this land, and unfortunately, I'm paying this amazing lender, my private lender, higher interest rate on it because I thought it was going to be a no-brainer, just quick in out type thing. I didn't care what the interest rate was, and I suppose I could refinance it or pay it off, but part of me is just like, you know what, I'm making money in all these other places. Don't focus on the one that you're losing money on. I think I learned that from Tim Ferriss. He's like, if you got a house sitting over here, don't just focus on that, but focus on what you're actually making money on. But yeah, I bought this land from a wholesaler actually. And I looked at the numbers. I was like, oh, that's a no brainer. Buy it type thing. Told my acquisition manager. And no one called the county to see if it was even buildable. I saw that lots were going for 55 an acre. I'm getting them at 22 an acre. I bought 4 of them. Why not? I'll take all of them. And I just bought them and I called my lender. He's like, I was just about to lend to this guy. He's going to pay me, 13%. I was like, I'll give you 14. It's like, all right, deal. That was 2 years ago. um, but you can't just look at the numbers. Sometimes you got to do all your due diligence. And here I am teaching people how to do this. I felt like a fraud there for a little while. And now I just share it with people. Like, you get hasty, you get cocky, you get arrogant because when you're making a lot of money, you make mistakes. So I've been pushing this due diligence checklist for years. I go to the landsharks.com/DD as in due diligence. And one of the things on that 14 item list of land buying roadmap I offer there is call the county and see if it's buildable. Well, it wasn't buildable because they wanted me to put the asphalt roads, the curbs, gutters. That would cost more than 4 houses. So that's one example right there.
Yeah, we see something similar in our market. So we do in our local market, we do midterm rentals, furnished rentals, and a lot of the cities around here have outlawed short-term rentals. So we get calls from people, and we do co-hosting, so we help other owners with this strategy. But we get people that will buy a house before they even check what the local laws are. They'll buy a house with the intention of Airbnb, like doing short-term Airbnb. They've got a 7% interest rate because that's what rates are right now. They get locked in, they buy the house. After they close, they find out, oh, it's illegal. I can't do this here. Now what do I do? So they'll call us and be like, hey, can we midterm rental? I'm like, well, you can, but you're not gonna make much money because your carrying costs are so high. Like you should probably just sell it. So a lot of them end up selling because they're just so deep in this and didn't matter what the interest was, didn't matter the carrying costs because they were gonna rent this for $800 a night and make a killing, and didn't even do the due diligence that you're talking about. So we see that in a lot of different areas, but yeah, that's huge.
That's a bummer.
Absolutely. What fear do you see with most beginners? Like what's something they wouldn't admit out loud that they're scared of?
Yeah, a lot of them don't send the offer letters. They are too caught up in finding the perfect market, the perfect offer, making sure the math is perfect, and they just never get around to sending the offer letters. And if they might send it once and they don't send them again, it's just the perfection. I say done is good enough. We also say massive and perfect action. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect.
That's so good. Like taking action is way more important. That's something that we're learning in our business as well, and just different things. Like taking action is a lot better at 80% perfection is a lot better than waiting and waiting and waiting until you have perfection and then you miss the boat. So just taking action is so important in so many different aspects of real estate investing.
That first step is the hardest regardless, right? Like you said, that initial offer, that initial step forward.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I actually ended up hiring a coach after I did like multiple land deals. I found the guy doing this at a higher level. And I actually went to a county he was in, followed him step by step, and he called me out on one of the live coaching calls. He's like, Brent, and he had like this stack of envelopes. And I was like, oh, that looks like mine. He's like, Brent, you only need to send me one letter, not 200. So I had sent him a letter for every single parcel he owned in that area. And I ended up buying like 123 lots from him in another county, another state actually. But it was a kick in the pants for a minute there because I was like, gosh, like he's probably not going to sell to me, obviously. Um, and that just shows you I wasn't a perfectionist about it. I was getting the dadgum letters out and I was getting results. And then there's a person that never would make that stupid mistake that I made, but they also weren't making money.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say someone.
So I say be about middle of the road.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's say someone is interested in getting into this. They get into your program and they're following your strategy for 90 days and they don't get their first deal. What are they missing? What happens?
Yeah, it's usually something very simple. They're not being consistent or they sent out one time and that's it. It's usually a KPI issue or a key performance indicator issue. And everyone has a budget. Some people can only send like $50 a week, like my dad. Like he only sends about $50 of letters out a week. And that's okay. Like he's not doing a ton of land deals. Like uh, I have 3 kids at home, so I have to do more than $50 a week type thing. Um, so I tell people, when you have a budget, I do as well. you want to get that land deal off the ground a little quicker, we got to do some things called like force multipliers. I got this from the military. A force multiplier could be like, okay, you're making the offers, you're spending $25 a week on the offer letters. Well, do 25 dials a day in addition. Call that list as well. It's a force multiplier. A third force multiplier could be you could text those people. A fourth could be you could show up on their doorstep and knock on their door, which it's a little harder with land investing to knock on the door because a lot of times the landowner is in a different state. They've never even seen the land. That's also a reason why they're less emotional and they're willing to sell it to us at a discount. Like we're told our entire life, your house is your biggest investment, unless you're reading Robert Kiyosaki's books. Your house is your biggest investment. And what do investments do? They increase in value. So people think that they live in a house for 18 years, never change the carpets, never paint the walls, but it should go up in value. But a piece of land, they almost don't have that same thought.
That's good. Yeah. And it's the land that's actually increasing in value, not the actual house that's falling apart.
That's so brilliant, actually. Yes, you're right. Because we depreciate the buildings. That's why I have lowered my tax bill substantially. Because I learned what cost segregation is.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't have
And how do you
don't see
learn
that
these things?
separation.
You get
It's not
big.
it's not the house, it's the land that increases in value and actually has the value.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. Well, land goes up and down. Yes, it does. You're right. It does. Just depends on the market. But here's the thing. There's like 18-year cycles. It's been happening for 300 years. We're coming towards the end of it. There's books written on this, The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking. Everyone should read it. It's long as heck, but I'll give everyone the short story. It's 18 years, cycle every 18 years.
I haven't heard that. That's good.
Yeah,
I have
that's
to check
new
that
to me.
out
Have
too.
you read that book?
I
You
haven't.
haven't.
I got to look into that.
Oh my God, it's huge. I'm not even finished with it.
No,
I'm acting like I read it, but it needs more pictures and bigger font for me, honestly.
I love it. Okay, this is always one of my favorite questions, but what is the unsexy part of land investing that is actually making you wealthy?
Oh, the unsexy that's making me wealthy? Well, I have a happy customer guarantee policy in my head. Like, I don't want anybody unhappy with me. I've been doing this now for years. I've done 300 parcels and only had one person want their money back. And I gave it to them. And basically, people will stop paying for the land. But there's no reason for that to happen. They could sell it. They can, um, I don't need to take it back from them. I'd rather them sell it and get their money back. But people will just give it back to me. That's kind of like the part of this business I don't like is, which they're paying their cell phone bill. Like land's going to come last for them. But I've had parcels I've sold 6 times. And I was already profitable in the first sale. So it almost doesn't seem right type thing. But yeah, I did have one person. I helped her to sell it. I thought we had sold it to her friend. She was taking over the payments, and I kind of forgot about it. A year went by, and I get a letter from her attorney, her volunteer attorney in Colorado Springs, and it said she wants $8,000 plus interest plus attorney fees. And I was like, "What? What is this?" And I was getting mad because it was like the principal of it. I was like, "I remember helping this lady. What the heck?" So I ignored it, which you shouldn't do with legal correspondence. And I was like, she's bluffing me. Volunteer attorney, give me a break. And so I called my attorney. I was like, what do I do with this? She was, oh my gosh, she's got you. I was like, what do you mean she's got me? So it was like this Colorado statute that I was collecting the monthly tax payments from her. She was paying us monthly, which she wasn't paying us. But in the contract for deed, she was paying us monthly for the taxes. And then I would pay it twice a year. Well, I had been paying the taxes. She wasn't paying us anything, but apparently I was supposed to have an escrow agent collect those funds. So my attorney that wrote me the contract for deed said, yeah, you need to pay her. So I was like, listen, I'll give her $6,000. That's all she's getting. And they agreed. I wired her the money. Then I called my attorney. I was like, hey, don't you have like errors and omissions insurance? Like, I want my $6,000 back. Because I was still aggravated at the principle of this thing. And she was It's like, yeah, I'll check with the insurance. And then finally she's like, I'll just pay out of my own pocket. And then I was like, listen, if you're willing to do that, I'll split it with you. I appreciate you so much. So she gave me 3,000. I'll never use her again because this is the second time that attorney has kind of given me a hard time. But um, anyhow, that's probably the unsexy part of this business. But it's happened once, and out of 300 and something loans that I've done, I think I've done very well. I've only had to pay $6,000
Yeah, not bad. If you look
or
at the whole.
3,000, actually 3,000.
Oh
So
yeah, you split it. There you go.
yeah, because our attorney gave me the money.
Nice. So let me ask you this: is this a passive or is this more active income? And at what point, if it is passive, at what point do you kind of get to that point where, hey, now it's passive?
Yeah, I like to say it's passive because you can ramp this up and take a couple years off, but it's really active when you're building it. I was active I told myself in 2016, I'm not going to touch this money for 3 years. Actually 2 years till I got out of the military in 2018. So I put a lot of time into it at first. And now, I mean, it's Tuesday. I haven't spent a single minute on my land business this week. And the money comes in every day. So there's active and passive times. You really want to be passive. You just sit on a bank account and lend me the money at, at interest rate, and I'll take care of the rest. But I'm not there yet. I don't lend my money. I think I'm too greedy as a real estate investor. I'm still an active investor.
Makes sense. I mean, I think pretty much everything in real estate is, unless you're just the bank, everything has some sort of active component to it. Whether even in a property, you got a single family home with a property management company, you're still making decisions because you got CapEx, things are happening. You got to buy a roof, buy a water heater. You're still having to get involved a lot of times, or you're just losing money paying somebody else to handle everything. But I don't think there's really a fully passive investment in real estate unless you're on the bank side and you're doing seller finance, or you're just completely, syndication or something where you're not actually making those decisions, at least from what we've found.
I think you're dead right on that. Like, you're not wrong because, it's like even when I have partners handling projects, it's still got an active part of my part. I think this business is always going to be active. Again, unless you're the bank, but eventually the bank's got to get active too when they foreclose and have hard times.
Yeah, it's very true. What would you say is more important early on? And this may change like person to person, but would you say cash chunks or monthly cash flow?
Oh man. Yeah, I think both. Because I see so many land investors, they make big fat chunks of money for a year, 2 years, and that little downturn in the cycle happens that we just saw. And they're like, oh crap, I haven't had a deal in 3 months, where I'm still getting monthly payments. Like COVID, oh my gosh, I was scared. I had just bought a lake house, put a $65,000 down payment on it. And oh yeah, I ended up having to borrow money from my in-laws as well. Um, and this was in 2019. No, when it was COVID. Anyhow, right before COVID, before I knew what it was, come home and find out about this coronavirus thing. And I thought like all my land buyers were going to stop paying. And thank God they didn't. Now, all my tenants, on the other hand, they stopped paying. And then I was Airbnb in that lake house too. We had gotten a lot of bookings. I had booked it out for like 6 months. I was like, I'm brilliant. I'm going to buy the whole street. Well, all those canceled as well. Um, but thank God all the land buyers kept paying. I actually sold more land during that time, at that 1 year period, because people just wanted to spread out.
Okay, so I've got a question because what little education or what research I've done, I did read a book on this, and the way that this author had structured his deals, because he did seller finance as well, but he would pay for a property, and he had like a formula. Whatever he paid for it, that was what he wanted his down payment to be from the buyers, and so that way he had no money in the deal, and it was just seller finance. Do you have something similar that you do?
Heck yeah, that happens from time to time. It doesn't always happen, especially when you get into more expensive land. But yeah, it's happened for me many a times. But if sometimes people put less down than what I had into it, so I can call one of my private lenders, or I just had money into the project for longer. That's where those monthly payments came in. So yeah, if I can get that, I go for that for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense because you're just recycling that money and just keep reusing it. Um, One of the big things that we talk about is creative tax planning and just how taxes come into real estate investing. What's the most painful tax mistake that you see land investors make?
Yeah, I mean, for me, 2021, I got like a $157,000 bill from the IRS. It was right after I lost some money in a couple house deals on large acreage, and I had a bunch of cash involved in that. So it was almost like the perfect storm. Um, I had made so much money that year. The IRS wanted their share, but I didn't have it. It was all in land, as well as the deals I just lost on the house side, which I short sold that with a hard money lender. I had to walk that mortgage to my office building that I owned. So I had basically just lost like almost $250,000, and then I just owed another hundred and something $1,000s to the IRS. So I didn't tax plan. I didn't tax plan at all. I was in the active flipping game when I should have been looking at, okay, for every dollar I make, and we have to pay, let's just say 40 cents to the IRS. Well, if I go and buy like this mobile home park for 500 grand, I could pretty much wipe out 250,000 owed by doing something called a cost segregation, because the mobiles are highly depreciated assets. Or like, and I might not be explaining that very well. I'm obviously not a CPA here, but I also do the same thing with light industrial buildings. If you buy you can almost like write off like 20% of that. So if you buy a 500K building, what's that? 100 grand. So that's actually no, 20, 40, 60. Yeah, that's 100 grand. So it's all about talking to an accountant and a CPA throughout the year as you're making these income jumps. Because if you like I was, go from making 4,000 a month to like almost 500K in your first year, you don't have your W-2 job, you owe the IRS a lot of money, and that's I don't really wish what I went through on anybody. So now I learn a lot of strategies to lower my tax bill. I'm not cheating the government. I'm just doing exactly what they allow me to do.
Yeah, it's just staying with it. I mean, we went through the same thing a few years ago. We have a business that took off and made a bunch of money in 1 year. Didn't It was going so fast that we didn't have time to think about how are we going to offset the gains. And then same thing, we had a six
Mhm.
figure tax bill at the end of the year. Like, well, let's not let that happen again. It's an expensive
Yeah,
lesson,
and
but
you're reinvesting. You're reinvesting back in, and the IRS doesn't see it that way. They don't care if you got all that cash locked up into another piece of real estate,
yeah, they don't see it that way.
unless you do cost segregation.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so you're doing other investments that have depreciable assets because land is obviously not something you can depreciate. So where, with property that has buildings on it, you can depreciate that. So you're doing both to offset those gains.
Yep, yep. So I have the active business, and then I have my passive side of it, where it's like we take our land money and we put it into another investment that will keep spinning out money, but also give us the tax benefit, as well as the mortgage pay down, as well as the appreciation, as well as letting a tenant pay that mortgage off. So 15 years from now, it's paid for.
Yep, makes sense. That's a great strategy.
I love that. That was actually gonna kinda goes into my next question of, like, how early people should start planning for taxes, but like you said, just working with a CPA all year and kind of staying on top of it makes sense, right? Instead of getting to the end and have that big tax bill.
It's a hard balance. Like, it's as a W-2 income earner, like you are used to getting a tax return and money back most of the time. Um, but when you go from, you know, making in one land deal the same amount as your salary for the whole year, and I've seen it happen many times, it's like, oh crap, I just reinvested that money or spent it on other things. I don't have the 20 grand that the IRS wants. And thankfully they'll take payments, but they're pretty darn high interest. It's like the highest interest you'll ever pay.
Yeah, they're not, they're stingy with that, but they're going to get their money one way or another. So you got to pay it.
What would you say is the first system you would build today if you were starting at 0 again, ground zero?
Yeah. Yeah. I would if I was starting over, I would do it in a couple steps. one, I'd see where the land's selling. Two, I'd call those buyers and see if they want more of that. Three, I would contact those landowners in that area and see if they're ready to sell today and make the difference. Yeah, it's that simple. And I even have uh, a program that you can do all that with. It's amazing. The landsharksdata.com. You can look up those landowners. You can see where the land's selling. Um, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes for sure. That's super helpful.
I love that. Are you at the point now where you have a team in place, or are you still doing this all by yourself?
Yeah, so I've expanded and I've contracted so many times. At one time, I had 15 team members, had the office, the whole thing, and I have contracted again. It's just me and my office manager right now, and I think I like that the most. I have partners now rather than employees on specific projects and deals. And it's just easier because these partners act like owners, and that's what they are. They've got their skin in the game to where the employees, nothing against employees. I made a lot more when I had employees, but I also had more stress. So I do more deals now, but I get just more pieces of the pie. I shouldn't say I made more back then. It was just a different share. So I like a small team. I have my office manager. She pretty much knows, actually, she does. She knows way more about me than my wife and children combined, and the dog. The dog sees me naked from time to time too. But I guess my office manager has never seen me naked. But she knows a lot about me.
All right. Okay, so how does someone know if land investing is for them or not just, shiny object syndrome? There's so many different ways to make money in real estate. Like people jump around. How do you know that this is something for that person?
Most multimillionaires, most wealthy people have made their fortune in something they're passionate about. So when you're passionate in something. Um, if you're just jumping into this to make money, you'll make money, but how long do you want to do it? Type thing. So I was always drawn to the land. I liked it a lot more than dirty old stinky cat pee houses. Um, Something right now I'm really enjoying that's making us piles of money. We're selling 2 a month is putting brand new mobile homes on land. I'm enjoying it. Like we're sharing God's love through affordable housing. And as the interest rates are 7%, like my brand new mobile home, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,500 square foot, same same property, same 1 acre property, same 1,500 square foot, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, concrete block construction house is 100,000 more, or a wood frame home is 100,000 more. So these people are paying $700 a month less for my brand new mobile home on land. And they also get warranty with that, a year warranty. Mine are selling in a weekend type thing. So that's been enjoyable. So it's because land kind of gets boring after a while. It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, but it's very easy to scale it as well.
Yeah, and I like how you're kind of incorporating other, the mobile homes and incorporating other aspects into the land. So that's awesome.
It kind of leads into my other question too, because I always like to know, like, do you have like a long-term goal with this? Or are you just kind of, because it seems like it's kind of taken these, little routes, these changes and added things, but what would you say your long-term goal or plan is with the land investing?
Yeah, the long term goal is um, pay as keep the tax bill as low as possible. Buy a rental property every year, either a mobile home park or a light industrial building. Those are my two I've done well with. Um, and do that for the next 15 years. And, a lot of these will be paid off. I've got several that will be paid off in 12 years or less, actually, now at this point. Um, I think that'll be more money than what I need 15 years from now. So it'll free up time for, what, okay, now it's like I don't have to earn money anymore. Um, now I can focus on how I can be of service type thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we got one final question for you here. If you could give beginners one rule that would save them from making most mistakes, what would that be?
One rule: never buy on emotion. um, we bought a lot of homes we've lived in. They were all purchased on emotion, and we usually paid top dollar for them. Now, we've been blessed in this real estate cycle on all of them appreciating that we bought since, 2013. But just never buy on emotion if it's going to be for investing. Now, if it's something you're going to live in, that's a different story.
Yeah, that makes sense. We see people that buy on emotion on houses they're living in and spend way more than they should by just bidding it up, and they just get the emotion takes over. So you definitely got to be careful, especially when you get into investing. That will just kill your returns. So you really got to remove the emotion.
We've talked about that a lot because.
Oh my God.
Oh, go ahead.
No, if you ever find yourself in a bidding war, get out of it. Just end it. Go find something else. Go rent. That's crazy. I can't tell you how many times I've been the person creating that bidding war. I've made lots of money doing it.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Lauryn.
No, you're fine. I was going to say, we talk a lot about that buying on emotion because we, buy houses and we live in them while we're fixing them up. And that's one of the questions we get asked all the time is like, how can you do this? And how can you finish this beautiful home and then move to something, a complete construction site, and start it all over again? And, we had to decide, more so I had to realize early on not to do. He has always been kind of, not to ever buy on emotion. But he's been able to kind of transform my outlook on not buying these homes on emotion and just being able to see the vision at the end and know what we're doing with it and
See
not
the
get
numbers.
too
See the numbers.
see the numbers, not get too emotionally attached to it. But yeah, I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah. All right, Brent. Hey, we always ask everybody, what's a book that you read that maybe was a pivoting point, mindset changer, something that made a difference in your life that you've read?
I'm looking at Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. I don't ever think I'm the smartest guy, but there's always someone that's done it, and I can have them help me or consult me or pay them for an hour of their time, and something like that. I mean, you got the Broke Millionaire podcasts. Like, you guys have the Who's on every episode.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've not heard that, and I'm going to add that to my list as well. So check that out. You got some good books.
What?
There.
I gave you 2 books today you've not heard?
I know.
You read a
usually
lot,
they're the
too.
same ones. It's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or like something that I've already read. I mean, I've read, 52 books a year a couple times, and I read a lot of books. But yeah, that's a new one, so I got to check that one out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
impressive.
Good.
All right. Well, hey, Brian, really appreciate being on the show today. It's been eye-opening. How can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and see what you got going on or learn about your program?
Yeah, I guess the easiest is go to thelandsharks.com. And then I really made a push with my YouTube channel. We're trying to come out with better and better content on Brent Bowers, the YouTube channel. So thank you guys for having me. And I hope your audience has got some value from this. And that's a pretty sweet strategy you guys have going on. I'm sure you probably sell those homes if you live in it 2 out of the last 5 years, tax-free income. So that's just that strategy alone right there can make someone a millionaire in maybe 10 years or less, actually.
Less if you're in California.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's like one house, right? No.
Like one house. All right, but really appreciate you being on. We'll put this your website and YouTube in the show notes for everybody. Thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you.
All right, guys, get out there
God
and
bless,
make it happen.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Rebuilding the Dream Studios.